Welcome to the Prado Museum in Madrid, Spain. Here we are again to enjoy our Wednesday morning series with a brief conversation in English about the wonderful treasures here at the Prado Museum, and we are in front of another jewel of the Italian Renaissance. I'm Christina Simmons with American Friends of the Prado Museum, and we are a nonprofit organization, and we're guests on the Prado's Instagram Live program each week. Our mission is to support the Prado with as many programs and projects as we're possible. And we do this along with our sister organization in Spain, the Fundación Amigos del Museo del Prado. So, welcome, and here we are with a painting by Andrea Mantegna, painted in Mantua in the 1460s. And it is the Dormition of the Virgin. This is a painting that I like to state how important how great consideration and esteem it has always been, as it was directly commissioned by the Gonzaga family, the rulers of Mantua in the 1460s and in the following decades. But then it was bought by the King of England. And then it was bought by the King of Spain. So it has only been in the finest collections, as it is one of the most treasured paintings. And it is a sacred painting that is commissioned for a chapel in the castle of St. George, San Giorgio, in Mantua, that the Marquis of Gonzaga commissioned to Andrea Mantegna. He was an architect, and he was a designer and a painter. Mantegna was also one of the few artists who knew Latin, and so he was able to study not only from observation, but also from classical texts. And he had designed a whole chapel for this new castle that was being refurbished for the residents of the Gonzaga, a private chapel. And this is one of the paintings within that chapel, which would have had a whole series of paintings on the life of Christ, of Jesus Christ, and included this of the end of the life on earth of the Virgin Mary. And so this is a scene, sacred scene from the Apocrypha evangelist books of the Bible, and it speaks of how the end of the life on earth of the Virgin Mary happened. And this is one of the versions, as in there are different versions in other artists, and later the most popular version would probably be her direct ascension into heaven. But here we have her funeral conducted by the apostles, and where she's asleep on a funeral structure, and her soul would be welcomed by Jesus up into heaven. And that is a piece that is actually missing from this painting. It would have been above it. It would have been above it here, where there's a figure of Jesus that takes the soul of the Virgin Mary and welcomes it into heaven. So, but what we have is the lower piece of the panel here at the Prado. And it is a gorgeous construction of space. The funeral rites in the setting are in a long chamber, which is constructed with a high ceiling and with columns on either side, and the paneled white and pink tiles on the floor. And all of this creates a geometric perspective that leads us to the illusion of the landscape, as if the room opens up onto a landscape. And this is actually the real landscape in Mantua, and we would assume that nearby this chapel in the palace in Mantua, there would be a window where we could see possibly this very scene in landscape. And it was very typical in Renaissance to place a sacred scene in a modern day context. So by placing the funeral of the Virgin here with the landscape onto Mantua, it is a way of bringing the Virgin Mary's protection over the city of Mantua and over the leaders of Mantua. So it's a religious connection to bring her spirit and protection over the city. At its construction, we're led into the scene by the figures of the apostles, which are very, very sculptural. Even the folds of the cloth are similar to classical Greek and Roman sculpture, and they descend in size. They're larger at the front and then smaller as they move further away from us to help create the sensation of depth and space and perspective. And we have the body of the Virgin here. I don't know if I said this already, here on a simple funeral structure with a red cloth, and she is dressed in green that is lit with these lines of gold. Look at how beautiful that is. And above her we have, in the center, St. Peter dressed as a bishop, carrying out the funeral, reading from a book. And next to him is an apostle with holy water that's blessing the corpse. And this figure in front on our side of the Virgin's funeral structure is with incense. And this movement, this beautiful movement, and this figure that's in green and red here to the right, the beautiful movement, and we see his anatomy and his foot lifted up off of the floor to create movement. It brings us in to see this most important section, which is the Virgin, the main part of the scene. And but there's also elements of the liturgy, elements with candles. And here we have the figure on the left of St. John the Evangelist holding the palm. And he was the apostle that Jesus on the crucifixion had commissioned to take care of his mother. So that's why he's the first figure here. And look at his posture. He's definitely based on classical Greek sculpture with a contrapposto, lifting up one foot off the floor, bending the knee to create movement to the body. But we don't see his profile. He's in a lost profile to us, and we see the following apostle. So also Mantegna takes an exercise in variety, the variety of colors of each apostle's dress, and the variety of the position of their faces. Each one is a little bit different and a little bit different position in space, and their halos. Each halo is a perfect practice of a different angle, a different section of space. So he's creating great variety. The liturgy elements are Renaissance, no longer Gothic at this time. And on the right, they're singing Gregorian chant. It's a funeral that is sung by these apostles. And so we would bring us into the whole experience of the funeral of the Virgin here. And we have the incredible creation of space with these diagonal lines. So thanks to the checkered tile floor and the reduction of size of the apostles going from larger to smaller, and these diagonals that would be from the top right corners with the columns, how it's reducing, everything takes us to a vanishing point at the end of the bridge, which would be about here. This is a vanishing point of all of the diagonals of the painting that take us to this creation of space. So this is one of the most cherished paintings. Even writers in Spain have written poetry and books about that this is their favorite within the Prado. So we would love for you to be able to visit it or research about it. And we hope you've enjoyed our intervention today in English from American Friends of the Prado. We encourage you to find out more about us on our website, and on the website of the Prado Museum. There's also lots of information. Thank you. We'll see you next Wednesday.